stupid live stream that cares less than I do. It's like, all I want to do is go live. I really don't care right now how good, look, you can see my reflection. I don't care. I just want this thing to start working, and it was not working. It's really annoying. I have my cable attached because my battery's gone dead. I got my coffee here, and I gotta adjust this a little bit so that if I'm down a little bit like that, do the whole Casey Neistat bit. Like, let me adjust this. I don't have a lens, or I would like do that shtick. Okay, as with all my live streams, this is completely unplanned. You know, I feel like the same old song and dance where you're like, oh, I wanted to be uploading regularly. I planned this I planned this, and then life happened. It really feels like that. Like, why does this keep happening? Like, where you're just, and this seems to be the only way to actually get content out right now. Like, there's just no other way to make like this connection happen. And I keep going on to Instagram and being like, I don't care for the conversation there. It's too political, and it's not very nice most of the time. I will say though that the followers I have on Instagram are all very nice. Everyone's really nice. Like, the messages I get are very kind and wonderful and everything. It's just mostly like, this is what I feel. And maybe this is more unique to me and my situation because I'm an expat. Hello, Vivian. Hello, Goran. Hello. I am not sure how you say that, Gospod Urbančić. So this is what I feel. I feel like, as an expat, as someone who sometimes feels homesick or misses their friends and family, you know, I kind of go like, oh, I really miss my friends and family. And I go onto social media to check out their stories. It's not unique to my friends and family only, but it's like in general, the people I follow. You know, like, I go online to look at their profiles or their stories or what they've been doing lately. And so often the case is that I go on to look at their whatever they're posting, and it's just full of political opinions, none of them kindly targeted towards anybody. And I'm just like, guys, I came on here to feel like connected to people that I don't get to see, and I'm getting like bombarded with your political opinions that I don't care for. You're free to post whatever you want. It's just like, that happens over and over where I just feel worse after being on Instagram. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? I should be on YouTube. So here I am on YouTube. Yeah, if you can't tell, my voice today is the best it's been in a week. I really hardcore lost my voice. And it's been a lot of stuff. Which is part of the reason why I haven't recorded my house tour that I'm very excited for. And this is what I plan to do. So I already have my apartment tour, and I'm gonna post the apartment tour and the house tour at the same time so that people can go look at it. And I feel like this is necessary because we have such an amazing home now. It's not finished. Not even close. It's not finished. It's still in shambles in certain parts, but on the whole, it's such a beautiful, wonderful place. And I go, people will look at this and go like, oh, I don't know. They'll make assumptions. And I'm like, I don't know. It's important to me that people are able to see where we come from, where we came from. because it wasn't a pretty road to get here. That's for sure. Okay, this.
Where's Leia?
I don't know if you heard that, but that would be our intercom. And there's no way I'm going to shout from here. So I'll use one of the gimmicky, like, most underrated features on Apple Watch, which is walkie-talkie. I don't know where she is. I haven't seen her.
Sorry,
Okay. We use that all the time. It is so handy. Okay. The reason, what did I title this video for? You might have asked. So I made this because I was like, oh, I feel like coffee, but I feel like coffee over ice because it's really warm. And I tasted it and I was like, oh my gosh, it tastes exactly like what I used to get in college. So, but I'd tell you a little story about when Mariah's college days. It's like, I don't know why it's funny to me. It's funny. I think coffee was something that it was like the one thing I loved. And it was kind of how I didn't have much routine, but that was what I did have. That was the one routine I did have. So back in college, I was so unbelievably broke. I remember having to borrow money from my sister for gas once to get to college. And the only reason I never, ever asked for money. And the only reason I asked her for money was because I had a exam that day. And I was like, if I don't get there for today, I won't be able to pass this test. Oh my gosh. Horrible, horrible memories. Good memories mixed in with some really horrible ones. But the coffee is a good one. And that is that I was so broke. And I used to always order a soy latte. Delicious. There was a Starbucks coffee shop on my campus. So I would park, I would go to the coffee shop, I would get a coffee, and then I would like walk to class, or I usually got to school way earlier than I needed to, college, way earlier than I needed to, because I had to take like 3 or 4 different freeways to get there. And if I left at the time I needed to leave, it took me like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to drive there. But if I left way earlier when there was no traffic, I could get there in like 15 minutes. And I felt like I was wasting so much more gas by driving that much longer, just sitting on the freeway. So I would often get to class or school earlier if I wasn't working. And so I would get to school, go have my coffee, but I couldn't afford a soy latte. Because a soy latte, a medium or even a small soy latte was somewhere back then in the range of like $4. And if you're doing this like 4 or 5 times a week, like I couldn't afford it. It was like $3 to $4. I think it was like $3.50 for a small and like $4.10 for a medium, something like that. So, but I noticed something. And I hope Starbucks doesn't like notice this, but this is a great cheat. Why would Starbucks even care? Like, seriously. Okay. So, Starbucks, it's like you can order coffee and then they have like a little away from like the register and everything. They have a little setup where they have, whole milk, half and half, and like skim milk and sugar packets, so that if you order just a drip coffee, you can take it over and like mix in your milk and sugar by yourself. Just brilliant. Very kind of them. And so I started thinking, I was like, wait a minute. If I just ordered espresso, I could go add the milk and have a latte. The problem was I had horrible skin. And milk, I was always trying to avoid drinking milk. And when you order a latte, they put so much milk into it, right? And they don't have like soy milk or rice milk or any of those alternative milks on their little milk bar. So what I would do, but it was like, what am I gonna do? I don't have the money to buy it. So I would always go in, I would order 2 shots of espresso over ice, and it would come in the tall, which is their smallest cup, and it would have ice, and then 2 shots of espresso. It would be like half empty, half full. And then I would take it over to the milk bar. I would put in some sugar, mix it around because it was still a little bit warm because they had just poured hot espresso over the ice. And then I would pour in some half and half. And it was about this color. It was about this dark. And it tasted just like this. It was like super strong coffee taste. And that was how I survived. And I think it was like $1.50 because I think a shot of espresso was 75 cents at that point. So 2 shots, $1.50. That was a great deal. I felt so good. Like I felt like I had like won. I guess I cheated the system in a little bit, but in a little way. But like then again, no one orders a latte like that because that's just like an insane latte. Because usually the small coffee cup gets 1 shot of espresso and then filled to the top with milk. And this was like half of it was full. And then there was ice, so I was using a little bit of milk. Anyways, point is, that's what I drank all throughout college. And I would just sip that on my way to class, and then by the time I got to my class, I would chuck it in the trash because I drank it all. And I didn't have any breakfast. I just woke up, got ready, went to school, had that. And then I would usually eat lunch around like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And I would try to eat lunch for less than $2. Gosh. Oh my gosh. Those were hard days. They were hard in a different way. Like I look back and I go, you don't know what hard is until you've had 3 children. But it's hard in a different way. Yeah. So anyways, that's the coffee that I used to drink. I'm curious if anybody else has like special coffee that they used to drink. But weirdly, when I made this, it was like, oh, that's like good memories. And I think because coffee made me so happy, and drinking coffee at college felt like such a good thing. It was like the one constant I did every day that felt so good. That's still quite a bit of money if I'm thinking about it. Right? Anyways. Okay, so what else do I have to say to you? Well, if we're going back to the topic of, house tours and moving and stuff like that. We, obviously some things are still unfinished here. We have a garden. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. And we just put in the concrete for our patio, terraza, which we will put tile over that, but we have to wait for the tile. We ordered it. We're waiting for it. And so when it comes, we'll be able to have like a real patio and not just really rough concrete, which is so exciting. And it was a lot of fun because there was like tractors here and stuff like that. And what else? And otherwise, it's like this space of ours, which is like gonna be my workspace studio. Office does not sound exciting enough. Atelier sounds better than that. But like, it needs to be something that inspires me. Feel free to share with me your ideas for what I could call it. Studio. A studio definitely sounds more inspiring than an office. I should maybe just stick with that, studio. Workshop. That's another good one. I always think of like woodworking or like ceramics or like, some kind of like you're making something very physical. So this studio space is it's nothing. It's like this little desk that I bought for Olivia and Leah. I have one I got my friends were moving and getting rid of their desks. So I bought one for Leah, one for Olivia. And that's what they had for the first, when we first moved in for a little bit. And then when I set up their playroom, I was like, I'm not gonna just throw these desks away, but they're not what I want to use here. So I'll just bring them up here for now. And got this. So it is nice to have a desk to work on. But part of what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna go on and try to find all the things that I want to make the studio. I'm really nervous about it because I want it to be something that inspires me and makes me feel like so, I don't know, just so inspired to work and create and like make great things. And I know me that if it's like, if it feels like, what would I say? If it feels awkward or like things are just not right, or it's like, oh, that doesn't look good, or that doesn't flow right, or that doesn't work right. Like all of those things will make me so irritated. Like I'll look at it and I'll never live it down. It's really frustrating. I'm like, man, being a perfectionist is rough. Because even when you decide you're not going to be a perfectionist, it's not like that trait just goes away. You still notice it. It still bothers you every single time. You're just like choosing to ignore it. I don't have a good allegory for that, but that's the best I can do. Okay, what is this? I gotta turn this AC off. It was really hot in here when I came up, and now it ain't so hot. And I gotta turn this off because I'm getting cold. So, I gotta finish the studio. And then downstairs, we have, you know how there's like an under the stairs space? We have there the like unit for our water heating and floor heating. And originally the plans were that it was like closed off and then there was a door on one end. And we elected to have the door instead be the wall, and the whole front side, if you're looking at the stairs, the whole like length of it will have doors so that we can use all the space, because otherwise a lot of space would have gone just unused. And however, it's still all open, so it needs to be closed off, and we need to do that, which is a giant eyesore. Like it's so ugly to look at this under the stairs space. And little things here and there, like the laundry space, we put the shelves in, or the storage units in, but the doors that I got for it are in the way of the light fixtures, so we can't put doors on it. So instead, I'm just gonna get like baskets that look nice to put in the spaces so that it looks clean and neat and not so disorderly, unorganized. Little things like that. And then this space. So the space is really messy and it's not very fun to live in messy like this. But what are you gonna do? There's only so much you can do. Like you can only spread yourself so thin, you know? Like this last couple weeks, we're really doing the outside stuff because when the weather's warm, it's like we just want to be outside, and you can't be standing outside in mud and dirt. How does it feel to be living here? How does it feel to be moved? It feels very exciting. Are people commenting? I don't know. Do I have like really bad connection? That's what I'm wondering right now. So we lived in that little apartment for 6 years. And when we moved into that apartment, it was supposed to be a temporary solution. It was like, we're just gonna stay here while we gather ourselves, pull ourselves together, and then we're gonna move to somewhere bigger because this is like not not okay. And I think 2 years ago, it was excuse me. 2 years ago was like I had reached my mental limit. It wasn't pleasant before that. It wasn't easy before that. It was difficult before that. But at that point, it was like you carry a burden for so long, and at one point you like your muscles give out, and then you're crawling. At one point you're like, even those muscles give out, and then you're just lying on the floor. And that's kind of what it felt like. And about, we had planned, we said, like, we need to move. And at one point we said, okay, whatever the situation is, whether we rent, whether we buy, whatever we do, we will move by February. No questions asked. And February came and went, and another February came and went. And there was just this feeling of like, there's no hope anymore. We're never getting out of here. Like it's just like, no matter what kind of goals we set for ourselves, it doesn't happen. Like there's a lot more to it than that. It's not just like, oh, we're living our lives and like, it's just not happening for us. It's like, we're really proactive at trying to make things happen for us, make things work for us. It just wasn't working. So I'm really annoyed because I don't think that the chat is live right now. Anyways, so when we first looked at this place, I didn't want to move here because it was unfinished and we were going to have to finish it, which meant it was going to take even longer to move in. But it seemed to be our only choice and our only option in a lot of ways. And now I look back and I go, it is so wonderful, and I'm so grateful that this is what we were fortunate enough to get. But it's just like when you think you have no more, like you're suffering in a way that you're just like, I can't do any longer. I can't do this anymore. And then they're like, okay, it's gonna be another 8 months. You're like, no, like like I can't do that. It was really, really hard. And I think that throughout, once we finally decided that this was going to be the place and it worked out and we got it all taken care of, during the building process, I kept thinking like, oh, it'll get better. Like once we, it's still really difficult to live in the apartment, but I think I kept thinking, once we move, it'll be such a relief. Like, it'll all be better once we move. Once we finally get out of here and into our home, it'll be so much better. And I just kind of kept holding on to that idea that like, once we move, life will finally be better. I feel like there's a lot more that goes into this. Like I'm saying this, I don't know. I feel like I'm saying this in a way where I'm oversimplifying some very difficult years of my life. But I guess what I'm trying to say is after moving in, I'm so grateful to be here and I love our home so much. It's wonderful and beautiful and it's perfect for our family. It's more than I thought I would ever get in Slovenia and Ljubljana. So we're very, very blessed and fortunate. And I still feel like completely overwhelmed and stressed out. And I don't think, it's like there an essence of it, or one component of it is like, oh, it's unfinished. It's not finished yet. Like the house is, we're still working on it. It's not done yet. And that is like, we're still living in somewhat of a mess. I have this suitcase here full of clothes. And there's like, that adds to it or contributes a little bit to it, but that's not it. That's not why I feel stressed or anything. And I think it's, after reflecting on my inner turmoil for a few weeks, thinking about like, why do I feel this way? Doing some stoicism, observing my thoughts and actions and feelings. I really think that living in that apartment was very, very difficult and mentally excruciating at times. And I don't think it's something that I'm just going to get over like that. Switching locations did not magically take away those years of pain. And I think Luka and I are very different in this way. Well, we've done the Big 5 personality assessment. If you know anything about that, Luka has zero sensitivity to negative emotion, and I have an extraordinary amount of sensitivity to negative emotion, which makes, YouTube, where strangers tell you how terrible you are, is really good for me. But I don't know where I'm going with this. The point is that, like, for Luka, living in the apartment for so many years was not as difficult mentally as it was for me. And for him, moving, it's like, oh yeah, that seems like that was forever ago. And for me, it's like, I will never forget what that felt like. Like, it's hard to talk about because it's so painful and I still feel the weight of it. So anyways, that's a little bit about my healing journey. When I did the apartment tour, I was really trying to do it before we moved while our stuff was still there so that you could see what we were living like. Because I was like, it doesn't make sense to move and take our stuff out of here and then you're gonna be like, oh yeah, there's space here. And I'm like, no, there's really not. And I really tried in that apartment tour to not express how doom and gloom I felt about the space. Like, I didn't want it to be a video where I just said, I hate this place so much. It's like, I don't know. I really didn't want it to be a super negative video. I wanted it to be more like, this is how we live. This is matter of fact. And like, I've said it. I'm grateful for what it offered us, which it gave us warm shelter, which most people in the world would be very grateful for. It was a safe place for us, which is most people in the world would be very grateful for. And it was very inexpensive, which allowed us to save a lot and go back to the US, which I think, when people comment and leave you like all sorts of sarcastic or trolling kind of comments, they say that the ones that hurt are the ones that are the closest to truth. And I kind of see like they're like close to it, but wrong, I guess. And I guess now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, it's kind of all about perception, right? Like, do I care about your perception of me? I care when that perception is like wrong in a way that it's something I really care for, right? Like people would say like, oh, you're so lucky you get to go back to America. Like, oh, you can afford it and stuff like this. I'm like, we live like dogs to be able to go back to America. We're not living this lavish lifestyle and we just happen to take our trip to the States every year or something. It's like, I think this is going to be on Luke and I's podcast one day, which you can see our microphone. We're halfway there. But there was a period of time, and it was like, it was not an insignificant amount of time where we lived on nothing but frozen tilapia and rice. And we had a salad twice a week. And you know, on the outside, nobody knows you're living like that. And I just remember one day, it was like, I remember opening the refrigerator and there was no food. There was like the last of our meal prep, barely enough to eat for dinner. And it was like, there was no money to go grocery shopping. And it's like, you know, and that was the time that we're saving money to be able to go back and visit people in the States and be there with family and everything. And it's like, that's important. Is it as important as food? And we're growing businesses as well. And like, you know, all that takes sacrifice, and you're like, you're willing to sacrifice. You just don't know how much it's going to require of you. So anyways, there's a little bit of insight. I'm sure there will be more on that in a conversation Luke and I have, but yeah. But it was kind of like that with the apartment, you know, like once we moved, it's like you don't just heal from a wound because you take the bandage off, right? That's kind of what it felt like. So anyways, I just kind of feel like, okay, healing will take some time, and trying to be like, not guilty about that, not feel guilty about that. This feels like the most personal I've gotten on YouTube, on social media. Wasn't intentional, but you know, on the surface, it feels very like ungrateful in a way. On the surface, it feels like you moved and you have all this space now and you're still unhappy, you're pathetic. Like that's the story that goes on in my mind, right? And I go, okay, I guess I just have to have a little grace for myself. And be like, it's okay. So right now is that I get a little bit of time for myself. Luka has the kids. I let the house get real messy so that I could take a nap today, because, you know, like last week, Monday, I woke up feeling like so exhausted. I told Luka, I really, really need to feel like in my body, like, I'm not just saying I'm tired. I'm saying like, I feel the cues in my body telling me to stay in bed for like 2 days, which of course didn't happen. And it just kept going. And then I lost my voice. So I'm like, I definitely need to take a chill pill. But how can you do that? You have like projects like, oh, they're coming and you have to prepare all this, or they can't do their job. You're like, well, I guess I have to prepare that. And then one of your kids gets sick. And it's like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you just going to say like no to life? Like, sorry, child, can you just not scream for me for a minute? I'm going to go take a nap. Anyways, just thought I'd come on here and chat it up. And now I'm going to try to plan out this office so I can get it done. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching, even if it wasn't live. I don't know what went on, what went wrong, but thanks just the same. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm thinking that instead of spending my time on Instagram, I might just spend it here on YouTube, doing live shows. It's not a show. Doing a live chat, doing a live whatever, live video where I'm just like, hey, how's it going? It's nice to see you. Thanks for being around. The conversation here is better anyways. I feel like that's doing a disservice to all my peeps over on Instagram because I do have really like I just don't think that Instagram facilitates the conversation as well as YouTube. I don't know. What do you think? If you're on Instagram, go find me. Literally, the only reason I have Instagram is because I want to share information about my YouTube channel. Then I spend more time on Instagram, and I really want to, like, I just want to have 10,000 followers on Instagram so I can finally share links. That's literally all I care about on Instagram. And I like hovered at 7,000 followers for like, I don't know, 2 years or 3 years or whatever. First world problems, am I right? Thanks for following, watching, being a part of it.